Welcome to another lesson about constructing good paragraphs when you write. These lessons are based on poems that we like particularly and wish to share with you. The poem in this lesson is The Jaguar by Ted Hughes.
As we advised you in our first video lesson, you should construct all your writing in paragraphs. A good paragraph has a topic sentence, usually the first sentence. This is a general statement that is clarified and supported in the rest of the paragraph by explanation or illustrations or examples. A paragraph is cohesive. It uses cohesive devices such as linking words and logical connectors. A paragraph has unity. It deals with the topic announced in the topic sentence and nothing else. Our aim in this video is not to provide a line-by-line analysis of the Jaguar. Listen carefully to this reading of the Jaguar and decide what you think the poem is about. What point does the poet want to make? The Jaguar by Ted Hughes. The apes yawn and adore their fleas in the sun. The parrots shriek as if they were on fire, or strut like cheap tarts to attract the stroller with a nut. Fatigued with indolence, tiger and lion lie still as the sun. The boa constrictor's coil is a fossil. Cage after cage seems empty, or stinks of sleepers from the breathing straw. It might be painted on a nursery wall. But who runs like the rest past these, arrives at a cage where the crowd stands, stares, mesmerized as a child at a dream, at a jaguar hurrying enraged through prison darkness after the drills of his eyes on a short, fierce fuse. Not in boredom, the eye satisfied to be blind in fire, by the bang of blood in the brain, deaf the ear, he spins from the bars. But there's no cage to him more than to the visionary his cell. His stride is wildernesses of freedom. The world rolls under the long thrust of his heel. Over the cage floor the horizons come. Pause the video. Write down what you think the poem is about. Come back to these thoughts at the end of the video. There are several general statements we can make about the poem. Here's one to start with. The image of lifeless paintings on a nursery wall applies to some of the inhabitants of the zoo described in the first two stanzas, but not to all of them. Let's look at developing supporting sentences for the main points in this topic sentence. Pause the video, and while it's paused, list 3 members of the animal kingdom that could be painted on a nursery wall as described by Hughes. What are the 2 exceptions? And why do you think Hughes has chosen to compare some of these animals to paintings on a wall?
You would have noted that the tiger, lion, and boa constrictor could be lifeless paintings. The apes and parrots are exceptions as they move. Here is the full paragraph. Topic sentence: the image of lifeless paintings on a nursery wall applies to some of the inhabitants of the zoo described in the first 2 stanzas, but not to all of them. Support sentences: the tiger and lion lie still enough to be paintings, although they might move later as the sun moves. The word fossil indicates that the boa constrictor is unmoving too and could be a painting. The exceptions are the apes who yawn and scratch fleas, and the parrots who shriek and strut. In their own way, each of these zoo inhabitants seems reconciled to a life of captivity. Here's a general statement that we can use for the second topic sentence. The jaguar might appear to be trying to escape, but in fact this is misleading. Pause the video. Write down words or phrases from the poem that support this general statement. You might have listed the following phrases: hurrying enraged, the drills of his eyes, on a short fierce fuse, spins from the bars, as well as the eye satisfied to be blind in fire, by the bang of blood in the brain, deaf the ear. This provides the evidence for your second topic sentence. Here's a topic sentence. The Jaguar might appear to be trying to escape, but in fact this is misleading. Support sentences. That the Jaguar is, quote, hurrying enraged on a short fierce fuse, unquote, gives the impression that his confinement enrages him, but the poet claims that he is deaf to the pounding of blood in his brain. Similarly, whereas the drills of his eyes seem to pierce through the bars as if he wants to escape them, the poet claims that he is blind to his surroundings. Here's a third general statement about the poem that serves for topic sentence number 3. Hughes' likening of the Jaguar's experience of being caged to that of a visionary in his cell is not based on how they behave while confined. Let's look at developing supporting sentences for topic sentence number 3. Pause the video. Jot down differences between the Jaguar's behavior and what we might assume of a visionary in his cell. Your notes might include the following. The Jaguar is hurrying enraged, eyes blazing, spins from the bars. Whereas the imagined visionary is unemotional, his eyes are closed, he is meditating, and he is seated. This provides the content for your support sentences. Here's the topic sentence again. Hughes' likening of the Jaguar's experience of being caged to that of a visionary in his cell is not based on how they behave while confined. And the support sentences. Whereas a visionary may well spend hours seated in meditation, the Jaguar takes hurried strides across the cell floor and spins from the bars. In addition, whereas a visionary might show no emotion at all, the Jaguar is enraged, his eyes blazing, blood pounding in his brain. Here's a fourth general statement for you to think about. These differences are irrelevant in view of what the Jaguar and visionary have in common. This provides a topic sentence for a closing paragraph that explains the point Ted Hughes is making in this poem. Pause the video. What do you think the Jaguar and a visionary have in common? Is this perhaps what you wrote? Topic sentence. What the Jaguar and the visionary have in common is their ability to break away from their surroundings in their imagination. And your support sentences. While in a trance, a visionary sees beyond the confines of his cell and present time. In much the same way, the Jaguar is blind to the bars of his cell and deaf to the crowd staring at him. This is expressed in the triumphant final 3 lines of the poem. Quote, his stride is wildernesses of freedom. The world rolls under the long thrust of his heel. Over the cage floor, the horizons come. Unquote. That is the end of this lesson. Ted Hughes wrote 28 poems about different animals. If you liked the Jaguar, you might also like The Thought Fox, which is a poem Ted Hughes wrote about writing that very poem while he was writing it. If you're curious to know what that means, you could listen to this reading of The Thought Fox. The Thought Fox. I imagine this midnight moment's forest. Something else is alive beside the clock's loneliness, and this blank page where my fingers move. Through the window I see no star. Something more near, though deeper within darkness, is entering the loneliness. Cold, delicately as the dark snow, a fox's nose touches twig, leaf. Two eyes serve a movement that now and again, now and now and now, sets neat prints into the snow between trees, and warily a lame shadow lags by stump and in hollow of a body that is bold to come across clearings, and a widening, deepening greenness, brilliantly, concentratedly coming about its own business till, with a sudden sharp hot stink of fox, it enters the dark hole of the head. The window is starless still. The clock ticks. The page is printed. The full course Think Right is available through Teacher from Snaplify. Make a note of this URL if you are interested.